The key to combat sports, no matter the discipline, is strategy. Planning your next move based on the movements of your opponent, timing everything correctly, and constantly learning new techniques to add to your repertoire. Sometimes strategy is quiet, defense-driven, almost elegant. But for Chechen fighter Khamzat Chimaev, strategy looks like relentless pressure and carefully applied power. Under the wrong scrutiny, it could almost be mistaken for all-out aggression. But there's no madness in Chimaev's method, only skill turned to savagery. Khamzat Chimaev is one of those athletes who inspires strong reactions in fans, pundits, and fellow fighters. Competing in both the welterweight and middleweight divisions of the UFC, Chimaev has had a relatively short professional career. But in the 3 years he's been fighting professionally, he's achieved a very impressive record of 9-0. While it's still early to make any judgments about the trajectory of Chimaev's career, his incredible skill in the cage and the potential for even bigger, high-profile fights has analysts combing through his fight footage, looking for the keys to the young fighter's success. Like, share, and subscribe to the Ultimate Fighting Network as we find out how good Khamzat Chimaev actually is. Khamzat Chimaev was born in Chechnya, Russia, where he was raised until the age of 19. Before he left Chechnya, Chimaev was trained in wrestling starting at age 5, eventually winning bronze in the junior level of the Russian National Championships. At age 19, Chimaev immigrated to Sweden with his family and continued wrestling, dominating championships and tournaments, and quickly becoming one of the best freestyle wrestlers in the nation with an untarnished record. Besides freestyle wrestling, Chimaev was also trained and competed in judo and combat sambo. He began training in MMA at age 23 and set himself apart right away among his peers. He competed in a handful of amateur bouts, and he started his professional career with a record of 3-0. Chimaev's first professional MMA fights took place in Sweden, but he signed shortly after with Brave Combat Federation, a fight organization based in the Middle East. As he had throughout his amateur career, Chimaev cleaned up at BCF, finishing his 2018 to 2020 run in the organization with another remarkable record of 6-0. In 2020, after a major BCF event was canceled due to COVID-19, Chimaev signed with the UFC instead. For the first time, MMA fans around the world sat up and took note of this relative unknown with a perfect record and his unique, aggressive, but ultimately effective fighting style. With such an impeccable record, exactly how good is Khamzat Chimaev? To break that down, one has to look through the bravado he displays in interviews and the almost unfair comparisons to fellow Russian fighter Khabib Nurmagomedov, and look instead at the way Chimaev uses constant and strategic pressure to overwhelm his opponents. If you could use one word to describe Chimaev in the cage, it would probably be aggressive. In his few fights with the UFC, he's already become infamous for his steady work rate, not letting his opponents get more than a few strikes in while he rains blows on them with a high level of accuracy. Because of his background as a wrestler, Chimaev is not known for his striking, nor has it really been tested in a professional setting, but already he's managed to show notable power behind his strikes, including the 17-second knockout of veteran fighter Gerald Meerschaert, achieved with one punch. It's hard not to wonder what that knockout power would look like if tested properly.
If you were the smaller guy, you were unlikely to win the striking battle. Your punches just aren't going to hurt. They're just not going to hurt the bigger guy as much. This is not only theoretically, this is logically speaking as well. He threw one punch tonight that landed. He put down the bigger guy. That's scary.
Thanks for watching this far. Please help support us by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. We appreciate you. Chimaev is a fast-paced fighter, applying constant pressure both on his feet and on the ground, switching stances quickly and easily in response to an opponent's movements, or to prepare for an intended takedown. In everything he does, Chimaev's chief goal is to knock his opponents off balance, both physically and psychologically, hoping they'll make a bad decision that he can then exploit. He manages a tricky middle ground of being very deliberate with his movements while also taking calculated risks. In his grappling, Chimaev has remarkable awareness of structure, and he puts that awareness to use in knocking his opponents off balance. He uses feints throughout his strategy and has even been known to fake an intention toward a certain submission, knowing it'll move his opponent in a certain way so that he can exploit that movement. He applies ground and pound techniques once his opponents are on the ground and utilizes his freestyle wrestling background to seek submissions.
If you can't wrestle, you're screwed against that dude. If you can't wrestle, you're screwed against Khamzat Chimaev. You're
what
absolutely
impresses you most about him, about what he does? Like that takedown against McKee, the first, I mean, it was just like a thing of beauty.
He just shot on him. Like,
Yeah.
even like he doesn't wait. He doesn't play. He doesn't feel out the range. Even Khabib, right? You watch Khabib now. Khabib moves. Khabib will throw some jabs and punches, and then he changes levels, right? It's all disguised. This Khamzat Chimaev doesn't even care. He just goes after you like he's a dog that was just held on a leash for the last 6 months, and he gets to go eat right now.
Khamzat Chimaev is a perfect example of what happens when the aspects of combat sport that you can teach, training, technique, strategy, meet and mesh perfectly with the aspects that you can't teach, like instinct and natural talent. It certainly makes him an exciting young fighter to watch, with the potential to plow his way through 2 weight divisions and take on even more skilled and varied opponents. But Chimaev is still young, and MMA is a sport where perfect records are rare the longer a fighter competes. What will happen if Chimaev's strategic pressure is put to a real test? How would the Chechen fighter react to an opponent who refuses to let him take them down? What would happen if he faces a tactician as aggressive as he is? In the long arc of a career, anything can happen. How good is Khamzat Chimaev? Good enough to hold a tentative but well-earned perfection, and good enough to make us all sit on the edge of our seats, waiting to see what he'll do next. What do you think about Khamzat Chimaev? How good is he? Comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching the Ultimate Fighting Network.